What's up, my nerd friends? So the last time I made a tier list for water units is 3 months ago, and Alchemy Star has released 5 more water units since then. So I decided to update this tier list, and I also added 2 more tiers to give a better ranking for certain units. Before we start, here's an explanation of each tier. The best unit tiers. These are the units that are safest to invest. These characters usually do stuff that others can and can easily carry you most stages. And the best unit in some stages tier. For these units, their usage is a little bit niche, but on stages that they can shine, they can easily carry you the fight. And the good tier. These are units that are the second safest unit to invest. They are generally good enough to invest your resource, and you can use them in most fights and you can notice their impact. Good in some stages tier. So these are units that are very impactful in certain fights, but otherwise you wouldn't really use them. Still good to invest if you have excess resource though. And then we have the meh tier, which are units that do okay damage, has some utility here and there, but in general they are a better choice. And then we have the budget version of good. These are units that are low rarity of good units, and they can help you greatly during your early game when you don't have a lot of units. And then we have the niche tier. These units have very unique things for them, either unique skill or unique equipment, but currently they don't see much use. Maybe in the future. And we have the no one use them tier. These units, you definitely don't want to spend your resource on them. Keep them at Ascension 0 level 1. Alright, let's start with the first one, Regal. Regal pretty much stays the same. It's still probably one of the best detonators that do the highest amount of damage. The diagonal attack is insane. And the best thing is, he is free. You can get him for free and you don't really need any breakthrough at all. He's just strong, super strong. And Sharona, I'm going to bump Sharona down to the best unit in some stages. Sharona is a detonator, but her chain is a little bit weird, so it doesn't do that much damage. Her damage overall is not higher than Regal, but Sharona does have the teleport, which can be useful. So in stages that you need teleport and you need a good detonator, Sharona is a pretty good choice. And if you happen to have the maximum breakthrough Sharona, yeah, she can help a lot in burst comp. Getting that turn 1 teleport and then do damage, it's pretty good. Sariel, yeah, I think Sariel's still in the best tier, but I think she is just very safe to invest because she is always good. You can always use her. But recently I found myself not using Sariel that much anymore because first thing, she's pretty hard to get maximum breakthrough as opposed to Clayton here, since Clayton is a 5-star and Sariel is a 6-star. But overall, still probably one of the safest units to invest. And then next up we have Clayton. Clayton is another 4 tile converters, and a unique thing for him is he also have the ability to fear with his equipment, and having his equipment to level 10 really changed a lot. For monsters that are not immune to fear, Clayton actually can do a lot of work, essentially kind of stunning the opponents. And yeah, Clayton is probably still one of the best water converters out there. And I am going to bump Clayton up in front of Sariel because of Clayton's additional utilities. And then next we have Phyllishy. The best healer for water element. She can teleport and she can heal a lot, and she also have double element. So her main element is water, her sub element is fire. That means Phyllishy can also heal when you walk on fire tiles, even though she's not the captain. And a good thing about healers specifically having the double element is even though you walk on red tiles, you still get the maximum amount of healing. This is because the damage reduction of the dual element, the second element, does not affect healing. It only affects damage. So having double element for healers, just good. And her active skill is super strong as well. If you have multiple enemies surrounding you, you get like a lot of shield. Yeah, I really like Phyllishy. I use Phyllishy outside of water team as well because of how strong she is. The teleport is really nice. The healing is nice. The shield is nice. She's just a fantastic unit. And then next up we have Fleur. I think Fleur is still good. He's just a really all-around good sniper, high amount of damage, has a global range, has a splash damage, so he can do some decent damage for bigger mob as well. Just a very all-around good unit, very safe to invest. I wouldn't say he's like the best unit, but yeah, pretty strong. And then Bethlehem, people might hate me for this, but I'm going to bump Bethlehem up to best unit. Especially if you have Breakthrough Tree Bethlehem. I've been using Bethlehem a lot in my water teams, and I absolutely like the flexibility of choosing 4 of your tiles. it really changes a lot, especially in the harder stages, that by just placing your water towel around the enemies and just use normal attack to kill the monsters, it's just awesome, man. And battle still pretty much stays the same as good tier. He is more of like a sniper and detonator hybrid, has a high amount of range with Franco's, with her active skill and equipment, but then she do detonator style chain combo. But overall, she is a pretty difficult to use character. If you can use her right, if you can plan out where the optimal way of putting your Francos, she can do a lot of work. And Colleen, I'm gonna bump Colleen down a tier. Okay, so the reason is there are a couple more units released now, and I feel like Colleen option is a bit less safe these days. Okay, so what I'm talking about here is Ruby. So Ruby does pretty similar things with Colleen. They both convert a lot of tiles, but Colleen can teleport instead. I think overall teleport is kind of a niche thing these days. It is useful, but most of the time you probably will want to just convert more tiles so you can hit the enemies a lot more damage. Teleport, I mean, you have Felishy to teleport anyway. You can like make some team with a lot of teleport like Sharona, Felishy, and Colleen, but I feel like it's not really necessary. Teleport just kind of niche, but if you absolutely need to, yeah, go ahead and use Colleen. Another thing is Colleen Preemptive Strike is at the maximum breakthrough, which is rough. Most people wouldn't able to get the preemptive strike, so that pretty much makes her really hard to utilize properly. And we have Ruby here. I feel like Ruby is an all-around good character, especially if you have the breakthrough 3. So at breakthrough 3, she will unlock the preemptive strike, which can really help on burst comp. And the option of selecting the X shape, I'm not too sure how impactful that is yet, but it's a pretty interesting one because you can use Ruby with Button, and Button will do the plus shape conversion and Ruby will do the X shape conversion, which can help you cover a lot of tiles. And Ruby on herself actually do decent damage. The equipment can help you do decent damage. I think she's a very safe character to invest, but I don't think she's too meta because water unit right now is very stacked, right? Next up, we have Hydrat. So Hydrat is the double chainer for water team, and yeah, Hydrat is just getting better and better because a certain new units, the Azure. So Azure, you know, best units. She's pretty much like right beside Regal. Very flexible units. She can convert one water tile anywhere on the map per turn, and she can do double chain combo if you can place your Mirage correctly. If you pair Azure with Hydrat, you can get 4 chain combo from Azure when you use Hydrat active skill. And yeah, it's just a really good burst damage unit, but I still think he is just a good tier. He's a very safe unit to invest. He does stuff, but I wouldn't really say he is the best. And we have Button. Button, very similar to Ruby here. They are cross converters. They convert a lot of tile, really useful for burst comp, especially if you have their preemptive strike. For Button, it is on the maximum breakthrough, but he is a 5-star. It is much easier to get the maximum breakthrough for Button. And yeah, I use Button a lot, especially in my burst comp. He is a very standard unit there, but on his own, he's not much, right? Like, he does have the diagonal attack, which is very strong, but it's lower damage. And because he is converter himself, he has very low stats, attack stat. So yeah, good units, very useful if you have the maximum breakthrough. And we have Corax. Corax is kind of similar with Sharona here. It's a teleport detonator. I'm gonna bump Corax down to good in some stages. Again, water has way too many detonators these days. It's very hard to fit in another detonator, and Corax, it's just a 5-star version of Sharona, if I'm being honest. I mean, yes, on certain scenario, you can do a little bit more damage than Sharona, but most of the time, yeah, just go Sharona instead. And I guess you can use the teleport comp with every single unit that can teleport with Colleen, Sharona, whatever, right? It doesn't work, okay? Yeah, I mean, I haven't seen a stage need that yet. And then next up, we have Chloe. Chloe is the 4-star buffer, and surprisingly, he is going to stay at this tier good in some stages. He is very good for burst calm yet again, buffing your team for 2 turns and based on how much water tower you are going to walk on. And a good thing about Chloe is you can use Chloe ability and use all your water tower on the map, so you don't have to think about preserving anything because you are going to get buffed by the extra tiles you're walking on. It's a very brain dead playstyle, but it works, and Chloe supplement that very well. But not every team can use burst calm to win, so yeah, Chloe is replaceable. And we have Raphael. Raphael is a weird one. Like, he's a really good support on stages that have broken tiles, and in a certain way, I guess you can say Raphael can carry the match if you use him on certain stages. But overall, Raphael herself doesn't do much. The healing is kind of low. The conversion, the reset is not very useful outside of cleansing the board. But I guess I have to do it. I have to bump Raphael to the best unit in some stages here. She is very niche. The majority of the time you wouldn't find any use for her at all. But on bosses such as Shatter Blast, she is a very important unit. So yeah, I'm gonna keep her there for now. Do know that if you want to burst on the first turn, you do have to have the preemptive strike, which is the breakthrough tree. And next we have Allura. I began to like Allura more and more because of her equipment. So her equipment can stack her damage up to very high if you have a lot of monsters to kill on the stage, because each monster killed is 1 stack of damage for Allura, and I think that's 1% or something, and you can get up to 99 stack, which is a lot of damage, and she can out damage a lot of units by just having that mechanic. So yeah, she is still a very good unit on certain stages, but yeah, you don't really need Aurora. He is a good choice though on certain stages. Vice, again, she is the best shield destroyer in the game, question mark. Pretty high single target damage with her active skill as well. Do need a little bit of setup because you need your surrounding tower to be waters, but if you're using 4 tower converters such as Clayton or Sariel, you can do that pretty easily. But overall, I'm still going to put Vice at good in some stages. I mean, the time for her to shine will come eventually, but as of right now, yeah, I have never raised Vice, and she can do fine being low level because I mainly use her to destroy shield anyway. If I want damage, I have better units. And next one, we are going to talk about Miss Blank. Miss Blank is pretty much the definition of budget version of good. You're guaranteed to get her by starting the game, playing the game. Your first summon is Miss Blank, and she can convert 4 tiles around her. That's pretty much it. She is a nice starter unit that you use to get some water tiles. That's pretty much it. Don't need to invest too heavily into her, but she can definitely help early game. And we have Kanali here, pretty much the known worst 6-star ever. And I'm gonna put her at meh. She actually can do okay, and she does have fear as the active skill, and she can feel a lot of enemies on a 4 cooldown basis, which is very high for ability. Doesn't do that much. Her damage is not great, and because she is a sniper that has a limited range as well. If you want a better sniper, use Fleur, right? Fleur has splash damage, has global range, and Fleur active skill actually do a lot of damage, unlike our 4 cooldown Kanali here. But yeah, you can raise her if you have no other choice, but I doubt it. I doubt you don't have any of these units, right? And next up, we have Jane. Jane is a pretty cool character actually, because similar to Chandra, she can reset her active skill by killing an enemy with her active skill, and for every enemy kill with her active skill, you raise your water team damage by 1%, the attack by 1%. In itself, she is pretty cool, has some use. So I'm actually gonna bump her up to good in some stages. If you can get the kill reset frequently, Jane is not a too bad character, but you do need to get to Ascension 3, I think, to get the kill reset, which is quite some resource. But if you are early on, you don't have much to invest, I think Jane is a very safe choice, because outside of just being a decent decent unit early on, a decent damage dealer. On certain stages, she can help a lot, especially with battle, because every time you use active skill from any teammate, you also proc the Franco attack. On certain bosses, they can work really well together, and also they look really similar, which is kind of funny. And we have Constantine. Constantine is pretty niche, I think. Like, I want to believe he is good, but I think since all he does is damage, there are a lot of better choice out there. His equipment is pretty interesting though, because he can convert damage into attack stat for that turn. So if for some reason you can do a lot of damage with your active skill, Constantine might be like broken. But so far, I haven't really seen that type of mechanic yet, like where you can make the enemy take more damage. Question mark. Actually, you know, there is Lukoa, which could help, but it doesn't help that much. Like, you only give like 200 more attack, something like that. If you do use Lukoa, I don't know. Constantine fan, you have to convince me. So yeah, Constantine is niche. And next up we have 3D. So 3D is a pretty interesting budget converter. She can teleport to any blue tiles on the map and has a 2-turn cooldown. But outside of that, I don't think anything else about 3D is remarkable. The teleport alone is, yeah, good. And since she's a 4-star, you can get her preemptive strike really easily. You only need like 3 extra copies. And sometimes you just need a cheap converters that can teleport on the first turn. Yeah, budget version of good. And we have Zoya. Zoya is a 3-star healer you get early on for free. And he can do stuff. You can do okay healings, help you on the early game to get 3-star on stages that require you to have more than 50% health, I think. I actually haven't done story for so long, I forgot the requirements. But yeah, Zoya will help you early game, and it's fine to invest a little bit into her because you do get more healing by having more stats, of course. But if you have Philistine, I wouldn't really use Zoya, and Philistine costs $1 on the shop anyway, right? Next up, we have Noah. So Noah has a very niche ability as well. So she can gain a lot of shield, but shield disappear at the end of round, which is bad. However, I think I've seen some people use her, so I'm actually not gonna be too harsh. I'm gonna place Noah here. The amount of shield she get is pretty high. Yeah, and there are some stages that you cannot get healing, and the only way you survive is gain shield, and that's what Noah is really good at. She gain a lot of shield. But I would say she's probably one of the few unit that you don't really want to invest unless you have nothing else to invest, because her usage is very, very niche. Like, once in a blue moon, you actually need Noah here. But yeah, cool abilities. Has some synergy with Novio, because Novio can convert shield into health without healing. So on stages that say you cannot heal, you can use this synergy to cheat healing, kind of. But yeah, other than that, Noah is a pretty useless character if you don't need her shield, for example. And next we have Kuma and Pengi. Now, Kuma and Pengi has a very interesting equipment that only he has. It's increase your team maximum health. It is pretty niche. If there is certain unit that scales very well with health, Kuma and Pengi can actually works. But as of right now, there's no water unit that does that. So the only unit that scale with health is Nails, which scale his active skill damage with health, and also Roy, which scale his healing with health. But overall, you wouldn't really use water converters, since Kuma and Pengi does convert. He convert the enemy occupying tiles, so 2 of them will be converted to blue when you hit an enemy with Kuma and Pengi. But yeah, it's not a tile you can use right away, so it's not a really good one, but it's a blue tile, yo. So until we see a really good unit that can synergize with maximum health gain, I don't think Kuma and Pengi will be used that much. But I think if on the early game, you do need some unit to just like slap on, and you can slap on Kuma and Pengi to do some damage. It's fine. And next we have Micheni. Micheni, I would say she needs to be bumped up a little bit. Micheni does have the ability to reset tiles, and you know, Todak likes to introduce a lot of tiles mechanics these days, like the locked tile and the broken tile. These tiles are very annoying and harmful to your battle. and having someone to cleanse them is pretty good. I don't really know how impactful she is on the early game these days, but yeah, until you have Raphael, you can probably use Micheni here to reset some tiles, to cleanse some tiles. The only downside is, well, her range. Her range is only 2 cluster, and she also doesn't keep the blue tile unless you get her to Ascension Tree, which I don't really recommend, but you can give her a try. And then we have the next 3 units, which are 3-star damage dealers. Don't invest anything into them because 3-star damage dealers are just not worth it. White Dwarf has the ability to suck enemy into you, which is interesting, but overall you don't really want to use a 3-star damage dealer just for that. If you don't know why you don't want to use 3-star damage dealer, it's because they can only get up to Ascension 2, where most other units can get up to Ascension 3, and they lack a lot of stats to make up for their damage because, you know, they are damage dealer. Damage is their main focus, and having low stat does not help. And next we're gonna talk about the remaining new units. So these 2 are the Dragon Maid collab unit. We have the Fafnir, a water converter that converts 3 tiles of the enemy occupying. Meh. I think Fafnir is very mediocre because damage is very low, but they do have the utility to fear with chain combo on a percentage basis. That could be useful. I'm not gonna lie, that could be useful. And the tiles he convert, although you can't use it right away, there are some stages that move tiles around, and you know, when the tile move away from the enemy occupying it, you actually could use it then, which is not terrible. But overall, I wouldn't really use Fafnir over the consistent 4 tile converters. Next we have Elma. Elma is meh also. I think her damage is fine, but she can only do damage, which is bad. Very bad, because she is also a detonator as well, where detonator is so stacked with Regal, Azure, Sharona, Battle, and even I think Corax is better because Corax at least have utility of teleporting. Elma here, I don't see it, man. And his equipment only work when you're at max health, and being on max health is pretty hard, especially on difficult stages. He's not gonna help a lot, but since most people can't get her anymore, I think it's fine. And then next up we have Kayano, the most confusing unit ever. I don't really want to explain how she works. Basically, she can buff your team damage, and she has the mechanic to swap your team around. Swap with the captain position, and she can go back. I mean, I'm not gonna explain it. Basically, a very convoluted kit. She works very well with Momo and Anzu and the unit that can get swaps. I mean, I can see her being useful, but I think she is pretty niche overall. Not better than Chloe in terms of damage for the buff, but the swap mechanic is interesting at least. Alright, that's pretty much all the updated tier lists and the reasoning behind them as well. Hope you learned something, and I'll see you all in the next video. Peace.